Candace Carter, Thoughts to Go. I am now telling the story, continuing story from my book, We Save the World. This is part 5, in which the narrator then again speaks in the first person. Part 5, The Zoo People. I'm sure this may sound strange, but the fact that I grew up in one of the zoos was a great privilege. The zoos were the only places in the world where people could live free and be themselves. There, the WB made no effort to keep the work drill and the propaganda going as it did by the casts. We were seen as nothing more than lab rats for experiments, to be disposed of after use. Except for our wardens, there were no other people we could compare ourselves to. For practical reasons, I may occasionally use diagnostic terms to define us, but in our real lives, these words had no meaning. We considered ourselves with our diverse bodily and mind disabilities as normal, and learned to use them in ways to help each other in daily life. For example, the deaf took the blind for walks, the schizophrenics told stories to the lame, and those of us with Down syndrome collected shells and stones for the autists to decorate their sandcastles with. This loving solidarity we shared would play a major role in the story to come. I spent my childhood and youth on a remote island. The island enjoyed a mild climate, and we for the most part lived outside. On the great beach, we had built simple huts, but usually we slept on the sand under the stars. We were largely self-sufficient, growing grain and corn and vegetables. We also kept chickens, cows, donkeys, and pigs. Over the years, quite a few cats and dogs had come to us as blind passengers on the supply ships. I had been diagnosed with mucoviscidosis, an ailment of the respiratory system that, under normal circumstances, usually meant an early death before the age of 20. I had been given the name Pascal and brought directly to the island from the nursery as soon as I could walk. My appearance, with my thin, transparent skin and large, deep-set eyes, was a bit strange. My fellow islanders accepted me, but due to the exhaustion the illness brought with it, I often spent time alone. Was the weather warm and humid, it was easier for me to breathe, and then I too could happily play with the others on the beach and in the dunes. I also loved to visit the animals and shared a special friendship with the dog Timmy and the donkey Matthew. Aside from the limitations of my illness, I enjoyed wonderful early years. Since the practice of keeping damaged subjects was still new when I grew up, there were mostly children on the island. The only adults among us were those who had developed health problems later in life. We had men and women wardens, and they, too, were allowed more freedom than their counterparts in the caste world. In case of unrest, they were to use drugs, but in our world, there just never was the need for this. In time, our differences became less and less important, so that evenings would find us roasting potatoes over bonfires and drinking coconut milk together. Often, we would contemplate what the world may have been like in earlier times. That's it for today. Bye-bye.